Be sure to like and subscribe.
Hello everybody, it is Slick. I'm back here making another Arcane Odyssey video. It has been way too many months since I last uploaded. For those of you that are curious, I basically just was not inspired to play the game, not inspired to make any videos. It's very easy to lose kind of like that track, that focus, right? Especially whenever the game barely gets any updates. Blame it on myself, blame it on the game, I don't know at this point. But I wasn't making videos. But here we are today. As you saw by the title, I'm doing a uh, little guide for newer players who want to get into playing hybrid classes. Now, hybrid classes as a whole, let's be real, they kind of suck in comparison to pure builds. Um, and that's just kind of like, that's just the fact of the matter. Um, so I'm making this here today to kind of highlight and show just what things look like endgame wise for say a warlock. Um, as a general rule of thumb, your fighting styles, they are the bread and butter to your actual warlock build, right? So one thing to keep in mind is that all the fighting styles they're they're not that unique from each other. There's a few exclusions, obviously, um, and I would say that those would be like Powder Fist, Thermo Fist, and Sailor Style. I'm going to be referring to those ones specifically as uh, as synergy fighting styles. They're like for very specific synergies, and you don't want to use them without pretty much anything else. Like you only use it for the synergy that is like kind of given. So obviously, Sailor Style, you want to use either ice or snow. I actually recommend snow, and most people will kind of like, "What? You got to use ice." Ice is actually really good, and we'll take a look at these damage numbers later on in the video, just as I'm trying to explain this to newer players. But snow is really good imbue wise. It's actually really good imbue wise. If you're going conjurer, I actually recommend going snow over ice every time. You can go ice sailor style, and it's actually still really good. But it does take a while to build up. If you're trying to get into PvP, definitely go snow, just because of its blinding effect. Um, it's just really good. Thermo Fist, obviously, it's a heat synergy, so you want to go with something that kind of plays off that. To be honest with you, I've never gone it. I can't really say. It's just never really interested me going Thermo Fist. But do with that what you may, right? So Powder Fist, it's fire or ash. That's all you can go. Literally it. Powder Fist applies the charred status effect, and that's the explosion status effect, right? But the thing you need to keep in mind is that um, it's really only good for that. Charred does nothing else except proc charred and wait for either ash or fire to deal the petrified status effect. So it's very synergy focused, but it's very large. I think Powder Fist is actually really fun, but there are better options, better synergies to go with. Now, those three out of the way. Everything else, with the exception of Vanishing Style, because I don't think it does. I think they do. Vanishing Style does crits. They do crits if you hold it long enough. But everything else does bleed, surprisingly. So, what does that mean? Well, if it does bleed, you can't do most of your heat magics. So if you're going Warlock and you go, say, basic combat, and you proc bleed, but you're a fire Warlock, your burning status effect is going to wipe the bleed off the map. And now, well, now you're just dealing burning status effect. Personally, I'd rather have bleed, but I guess it's kind of up to you. Now, that's something just to keep in mind. Same with boxing. Cannon Fist also does bleed, and Iron Leg also does bleed as well. Um, Now, when you are deciding on a magic to go, you need to actually make sure you are looking at your um, at the actual imbuements charts and tables. And I'll show you guys that in a minute, as I already said. First, I want to go over something else that's important, which is your actual stat distribution. So this is what I rock. Now, you might be wondering, why are you 200 strength instead of 210? And 150 magic instead of 140? The reason for that, it's two reasons actually. Because at strength 210, you don't unlock any additional abilities. Nothing. At 200, you gain Axe Slash and Retaliate. Retaliate has gotten some buffs. I still don't use it. But Axe Slash is really useful when fighting groups. So I keep that one. So I want Axe Slash, so I want at least 200 or above. But then 150 magic, you get two things. At 150 magic, you gain Javelin, and you also get access to Aura. So depending on your magic, you're going to be able to get an aura that really suits your build. Now, I have low HP, so going Crystal with a defense aura brings me to 3,000. Alright? So this works out really well for me. So that's something you need to keep in mind whenever you are building your Warlock. So, this next segment, I'm actually going to switch over to my second monitor, and we're going to take a look at the Arcane Odyssey wiki. All right, so let's take a look here, and ignore the tabs at the top. It's a mixture of Counter-Strike and Arcane Odyssey stuff. But so I'm going to take a look at some like the imbuement stuff. So let's look at basic combat, because most new players, that's what they're going to be using. Now, if you go in here, I'm going to teach you how to read all this. So this is your basic damage right here. Right here. Let's see if I can highlight it. Yep. This is your basic like stats. So basic combat has 0.95 times damage multiplier, a 1-time speed, and a 1-time size. Basic is really good balanced. If you have a magic that is really balanced, such as like Shadow, which has very balanced overall stats, Shadow with basic combat is actually pretty good. And I'll show you this right here. So these are your imbued stats. These are just like very basic imbued stats for Warlord. Now, if you are Warlord, you shouldn't really be on this video, but it's good to know. This is what it looks like if you were to imbue basic combat into your weapon. And then that also varies per weapon, but I think these are like averages of a sort. And then obviously these are your armor stats. And let's go down here. So right here you'll find imbued affinities, and you can scroll through. Now, as I said earlier, basic combat is a bleed fighting style. It causes bleed. So you'll find that the magics that actually cause bleed in the first place typically are better. So obviously Crystal. Crystal is ridiculously good. 1.266x, right? But that's not like an over 5 ticks, right? That's after you hit them 3 times, you get a 30% damage bonus to your attack. It's actually really good. And then it has decent size, and then the speed is kind of whatever. But it's also not terrible. This is just basic combat, right? So this changes per fighting style that you're actually looking at. Now, if you scroll down, look, light right here, right? Increased speed, decreased damage, and then obviously blinded 10% on max stack, which it's almost impossible to get max stack, I'm not gonna lie. But you get a damage increase after that with decreased size. So I hope you kind of understand how you're supposed to kind of look at things here. In my opinion, the best magics to go, if you're on Warlock, from what I have tested, would be Crystal. Acid is okay for some things if you're okay with doing like a status effect build. If that's really what you want to do, Acid is actually pretty good. Acid, Crystal, Earth is not good. I will be the first to say that. It's really slow. And then this right here, 33% target HP causes bleeding. 33% is a ridiculous number. If your opponent has 3000 HP, right? 33% would be 330 HP. Now that doesn't seem like a lot for PvP, right? However, if you're fighting a boss with 6000 HP, you have to do 660 damage. Now, I hope you guys can see how that is a little scuttled, right? Where if you're trying to kill a dragon with 40,000 HP, you're not ever gonna proc bleed. That's why I'm not a big fan of Earth. And actually, funnily enough, I wanted to go Earth magic as a warlock early on in my progression, just because of what is his name, Cernix at the Cernunno Forest or whatever it's called. I thought he was pretty dope, but turns out Earth itself kind of sucks. Explosion has increased size, right? But it only procs chart. I already kind of talked about this, but that's all it does, and it's got low damage. So, or well, it's got decent damage, but I mean, just for chard, it just doesn't do any damage. Ice is also really good. I know I mentioned that it's really good on Sailor Style, obviously for the synergy, but damage wise, it's also really good as well. And that's something just to keep in mind. If you were to go a Blood Disease, then you can get this. You can get the Frozen synergy with Ice on basic combat, which might be good. I have no idea. I would never go a Blood Disease on Warlock though, just because you're always in somebody's face, and like me having like 2.3 thousand HP is already really low, and sometimes like I'll struggle in fights because it's like I get close to somebody who can nuke me, I'm done pretty much. Another good one would be Poison, surprisingly. Poison is really kind of fantastical. It does a crap ton of damage, but it's over 20 ticks, which is 20 seconds in case you're wondering. So it's kind of up to the player, up to the play style. Another good one for all these bleeds are for these bleed fighting styles is Sand. Sand, Shadow, and Snow. Actually, I'll just include them all in one. They're really good. These are your vision magics, as I like to call them, where they hinder your ability to see. These are really good for PvP. If you plan on PvPing, these three magics are like significantly. They stand out significantly for everything. And now, like obviously, these stats right here will change per fighting style that you're actually um, using. So if you're using boxing, it'll be faster, right? So like your faster ones, like Sand, will actually be better for boxing. Shadow is better for basic, I would say, and then Snow you can kind of mix in between for everything. Um, and then last but not least, actually it is last, and it kind of is the least. Some people swear on wood, but I've never really used it, and I've never really found it better than anything else. Um, but wood, it's actually really good. For your bleeding synergies, 5%. It's the exact same as metal. It works very well. Decent size, decent damage, and it's not that slow. So um, it's a pretty solid option if you do plan on going this. Now, I hope what you are taking from this currently um, is essentially what you should be looking out for. Not a necessary like this is what I need to go, right? But just like things to keep your eyes on whenever you're trying to build a build that doesn't actually hinder your damage, your speed, your size, right? You need to find something that works for you. If you don't care that much about size because you have fantastic aim and you constantly have 240 FPS on the game, right? Maybe you need less size, right? But if you're like most people, probably want a little bit of size, right? So find what works for you. Test around with it. There are plenty of people on YouTube that have done showcases of different magics on Warlord slot, or I'm sorry, on Warlock slots. So just hit the search bar really quick, look it up. You'll find something that works for you. Um, Now, the next thing I did want to look at, and I already kind of briefly touched on it, but it was the right here. So rare spells. I already mentioned that you can use Javelin. The best thing, honestly, the best thing in the best spell in the game at the moment, if you are in PvP or I'm sorry, if you're doing PvE, is Cannon. Cannon has ridiculous piercing damage. If you use Cannon on a dragon, it does way too much damage at the moment. Um, Now, the caveat to that being, Cannon currently in the auction house is worth way too much money. Um, but it is really, really good. So if you do get your hands on it, it's actually a really good addition to your build. Um, After that, we have Barrage. Barrage is okay. It's not something that I really care for. Um, but some people actually do use it, and they swear by it. I find it a little too slow. If you're using a fast magic, if you're using like lightning, I don't know why you'd really be using lightning. Um, Even for sailor style, I didn't bring it up on purpose, guys. Don't use lightning for sailor style. It's not better than ice or snow. The frozen status effect is significantly better than paralyzed. Um, but barrage is kind of mid, in all honesty. If you're using a fast magic, maybe it's a little better, but I mean, if you're using something slower, I don't think it's that worth it. Quake, you have no reason to use Quake at all. You have Slam on your fighting style. Use that instead. Quake is just kind of like a overglorified Slam. It literally says it right here. This move functions similar to the mechanics of Smash, the Slam style of fighting styles. So just keep that in mind. It could take up a slot because you probably have space on your magic, but I try to keep magic purely range and utility, so um, I don't really have that much space. And then obviously javelin. Javelin is really good, really good range. It goes freaking forever, to be honest with you. If you could pick up javelin, it's not that expensive. I think in the auction, I might be wrong about that, but um, it's a really good addition to your build. In conjunction with cannon, especially, you can just start lasering dragons. Now, I know some of you are probably bored at this point and want me to go back to the game, so I will do that. And you probably also noticed that my current build, I'm using Cannon Fist and Crystal Magic. Um, the thing with this is I want like as much bleed as possible. So like I get the bleed status effect from the fighting style, but then I also get the crystal 3 hits and then it does like 30% additional damage. Right? Okay, so here we have a guard. I'm going to show you how much I do per. So 346 per M1. Now, take 30% of 346 and then add that to my damage. So I'm dealing above 400 damage for every third M1. So that is ridiculously good, in case you were wondering. Um, Now, that's my build, and like I'm going Cannon Fist simply because over other things, simply because I want to be fighting dragons, and that's another thing I wanted to touch on. If Cannon Fist is like extremely meta for farming dragons at this point, if you are out there, you probably already seen it on YouTube. Everyone's kind of using Cannon Fist because you can just sit there and spam the M1s like all day. And it does a insane amount of damage, and I wouldn't say it's entirely as broken as cannon, the cannon spell, but if you use both of those things in conjunction, like you're going to be doing a lot of damage. So just something to keep in mind. I hope this was at least a little bit of help for some of the newer players. Maybe we have some returning players or that like really want to get back in the game and aren't really sure exactly what to go. Um, if you are a more experienced player and I definitely missed something in this video, please, please, please feel free to say something in the comments. Help out those that really need it, which is our newer players. The game is really dying at this point just because there hasn't been an update. An optimization update was kind of a scam, bro. I'm not gonna lie. So honestly, feel free to correct me, critique me, add any additional information in the comments. As always, guys, trust in God. Peace.